Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We are back in the studio today and here to talk about all things live streaming and explain what's going on and what I've been up to and answer your questions. So as always, say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're joining from. There was a little problem with my map earlier. I will explain. And I see a bunch of people who said hi. We missed them during the little map intro, so I will say hi to them now. Hi, Jeremy from Sydney. It is late/early there. Hello, Bob from Las Vegas. Hello, Hans and Andre and Gerhard. And oh, Chris is back. We've got a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces in here as well. So thanks all for joining. If you missed my live stream earlier in the week, then sorry, you'll get a sort of recap of it later. But I did make it unlisted. So the live stream from New York that I did from New York is it's still online. It is still there, but it is only available if you know the URL, and I will tell you why. So that was a lot of fun, and thanks to everybody who watched live. This, let's see, I think I can show a little preview of it. Yeah. So this was the stream from New York, which was a lot of fun using the little Mevo cameras, and it was, it worked. It worked okay, but we definitely also, whoa, what was that? Somehow my transitions got turned into a little wipe. Okay, that was weird. Not expected. Fun. Okay, I think I fixed that. That was disorienting. The live stream from New York, it worked pretty well. Definitely ran into some problems with my cell phone connectivity. So there was several large stretches of the stream that were just nothing. And I had set it up so I could cut to, excuse me. I had set it up so that remotely I could cut to this angle in order to show the desk, because I was running the entire stream through my desk from the Mevo cameras. And that meant that there was a lot of just looking at the desk during the stream. So instead of having YouTube like promote the live stream and get people to click on it, I made it unlisted because there's too much unwatchable in the actual stream. So if you know the URL, you are welcome to, oh, thanks for the super chat. You are welcome to watch the replay if you can find the URL. And thank you, MeteorX, for the super chat. I appreciate it. So the way that if you don't already have the URL, sorry, you missed out. If you do want to make sure that you don't miss out on things like that in the future, I email these out. So go sign up for my newsletter. You can just go to aaronpk.tv, and it's down at the bottom of the page. And at the bottom of the page, you'll find a newsletter subscription box down here. And that is where you can sign up to get email notifications when I go live. And that means for everybody who has already signed up for the newsletter, that means you have an email with the link to that video if you do want to watch the replay. But if you missed it, I will be posting a video about that stream, and it'll be edited down. So there will be it'll be like a cleaned up version of it. So I will post that at some point once I finish the editing of it. But yeah, thanks a bunch for watching live, because it was a lot of fun driving around and just being ridiculous in the car and trying those things out and trying to find the limits of the LTE towers around New York, which turns out there are many limits. Definitely was not as good cell coverage as I had I'd hoped for. Which is going to lead me to do some new experiments of trying to find affordable ways to do bonding of multiple internet connections, both multiple LTE connections, but maybe also LTE plus Wi-Fi for like if you're at a venue and you want to make sure you have a backup in case the venue's Wi-Fi goes down. So I'll be looking at some things for that soon because that is definitely a problem. But we got a good chunk of live stream out of that drive anyway, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, that's the deal with the live stream from the streets of New York. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions about the Mevo cameras. I'll drop a link to those Mevo cameras in here again. The Mevo 3 pack, they had sent those over to me, and I wanted to try them out in a live environment, let's just say, instead of just in the studio, because I think it would be only mildly interesting using them in here, and it's a lot more fun to go out somewhere and try them out. So yeah, lots of good options for bonding internet connections. I'm going to try out several different ones. Tech Condo says perhaps try out the Live Use Solo. I will try to get a hold of that one, and we'll see what I can do. I'm also planning on doing one with a Raspberry Pi. I'm a big fan of using Raspberry Pis for things, so that that'll be on the list as well. So the way that I did that stream, in case you didn't catch it when I briefly mentioned it at the beginning of the stream, the Mevo cameras are they're like it's a streaming system, and they all connect to Wi-Fi, and then you connect a phone, or I guess it would work on an iPad too, which I should keep in mind. Should have done for certain reasons. And you connect the cameras to the Wi-Fi, you connect the phone to the Wi-Fi, and then the cameras all stream to the phone, and the phone can switch between the multiple cameras and then re-encode the video and push it out somewhere. So that encoding is happening on the phone. The cameras are just cameras, and that then can stream to anything over RTMP. So you could stream to YouTube directly, but the problem with that is the same problem that I have with most of those sort of just streaming cameras or streaming whatever, where you don't really have a lot of options for doing the kind of like pre-roll or loading screen or countdown timer. There are some graphics capabilities in the app. I haven't played around with that part of it too much yet, so I am going to do more investigation into that. But generally, what I like to do is be able to put up some sort of splash screen at the beginning, and starting soon, or a countdown timer, and then cut to the camera when I'm ready. And because of that, that means these sort of cameras that can do streaming, I don't like to push directly to YouTube because you don't really know when they're actually live, and it's really hard to time that. So what I did was I streamed from the Mevo app to my Raspberry Pi here in this studio. So I was pushing the stream from New York over my LTE to home in Portland, where I've got this studio with all of my stuff hooked up, and I had a camera. Actually, I had this camera pointing at the system, and this is actually I haven't even changed that screen since I left. But that screen is the Raspberry Pi showing up here. So the stream from the Mevo cameras popped up here and went into the ATEM. And I've reassigned the ATEM inputs since then, but popped into the ATEM where I was able to then cut to it as if it were a camera locally. And I like that option for it because it means that I can use all of the same stuff that I use for the streams. I can use my graphics overlays that pop up the chat. The super chat overlays work automatically because that's all coming from this Mac that's sitting here, and that is it's just treating the remote camera as a remote camera. So I like that way of doing it, and it means that I can use any camera, right? I can use a DJI Pocket 2, I can use the Mevos, I could use one of the new actual cameras that has RTMP built in. So the Raspberry Pi is what I pushed to. There's other devices that can do that, which I'm testing out, but I'm having some challenges with some of them for certain reasons. But anyway, Oh, Chris asks, how did I automatically display the chat overlay? So it wasn't automatic. That's the trick. Is that the Mac here is sitting here, and it is it's running OBS, which I can just pop up on this screen so you can see it. So here's OBS doing the URL browser capture of my chat overlay plugin. Well, it's the sort of modified version of my chat overlay plugin that I use, but it would work with the regular Chrome extension as well. And I'm looking at my like admin dashboard that I use to run this stream, which is also the same. Yeah, it's roughly equivalent to if you were to use the browser extension. And in the car, I had my laptop up in front of me, and I was actually going through and clicking on these chat messages just like I do here. This is just at a link which I can visit from a computer, and I can pull that up wherever I am. And the because it's a browser capture in OBS, it doesn't matter where my browser is that's controlling it. So if you wanted to do that yourself, the Chrome chat overlay extension is the solution for that. And it looks like this. So you go download this live chat overlay, and let me just pop a link into here, live chat overlay Chrome extension. It's also on the Firefox store too. You just search for live chat overlay, look for the one by me. And if you install this into Chrome, what it means is that when you do the little pop-out chat, then you can click this new button up here, get overlay URL, and this is what you can bring into OBS. And you can bring that into OBS, do it as a browser capture, and then you're basically remote controlling it from this pop-out window. So as you're clicking messages in here, it's actually sending commands to that remote window. So that basically means that I am able to still run the stream like before, and still control what messages I'm showing, even though I'm streaming from the Mevo cameras, which don't have that option built in, of course. The only part of this that's actually automatic is the super chats. So if someone does send a super chat, then I don't click it. It actually automatically goes, and that's to make sure that I don't miss it, because it will totally interrupt the stream. Tech Hondo says, how do you avoid that somebody else is pushing chats if the service is available on the internet? So my URL is like, I have to log into it as a password. But with the browser extension, the way it works is, where did that pop-out chat go? Let me do that again. So the pop-out chat, you might notice that when you click this get overlay URL button, there's this little thing that appears here. This is kind of like the secret code. So if you visit this link right now, like I'll drop this link in here for you. If you actually go and let's see, test chat overlay, if you visit that link, it's got the secret code in it. And let me pull this up in a window over here on the side. So any number of people can visit that link. It doesn't matter. All it's going to do is when I click messages here, then it will show up in that window. And if you've loaded that link right now, you will also see that in your window. So the trick is that this is the kind of secret code that you don't want to share with anybody, which is obviously I would not want to, normally I would not share that in the live stream. And this is not the one that's actually on my actual live stream, so I don't care. But if you were to visit this link, this actual pop-out URL with that little hash after it, you would be able to control this also. That's why you don't want to share that secret code. So it's kind of like the identifier for this group of windows. And if you actually want to try it, go click the pop-out chat link on YouTube and add that hash in after it, reload the page, and you will be able to push messages into this window on my screen as well as everybody else's. So that's how that works. It's obviously not the most secure thing in the world, but it's generally secure enough for what we're doing with this. It's roughly the same length as the YouTube video IDs, which are basically the same idea. Like unlisted videos they don't actually require authentication to view. If you know the video ID, you can get in. So same kind of idea. That's how that works. And it looks like nobody has actually gone to the trouble of loading that into their browser yet and trying to push a message here, because I haven't seen this change. So fine. I'll leave that open on my computer just in case somebody wants to go try to figure it out. But okay, there were some other questions here about the the New York stream. So let's take a look at those. Cool. Oh, it works. You must have seen the message I pushed to that window. There was a question I saw earlier about, oh, why did you have low audio level on your on the stream? That's a good question. I am not totally sure about that. I haven't done the full debugging of that whole path. So I do want to try to figure that out. I don't know if it was because I was going through so many steps, I don't know where in the sequence it was low. I believe the ATEM was set to 0. So yeah, this was, it was on input 2. And why is there, oh, it's a camera right now. So it was on input 2, and that was the Raspberry Pi coming in. So it could be that the Raspberry Pi HDMI volume was set wrong. I thought that was set okay. It could have been that my audio mixing in the Mevo app was just set wrong also. That's very possible. So I'll need to do some more debugging about that, maybe when I'm not in a car. That was the first time I've actually streamed from the Mevo cameras, which is risky. That was probably not the best thing, the smartest idea. I should have probably done some tests in a controlled environment first. So, but hey, you know, we roll with things here. So I'll do some more tests, and I do want to explore the graphics features more, so I'll be able to show you those later after I've played around with it a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, there was another question here. Oh, Mikhail says, great to see you and David together. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Tell us about why you were in New York. So the reason I was in New York was back in March last year. I had to cancel a ton of flights that I had booked for out several months because I travel so much for work, and I just had a ton of things booked up, and you know, we were just planning on things being normal, and I had to cancel all of those flights, which had been several months of flights, and they all got canceled in different ways. So some of them ended up as turning into like points, some of them turned into flight credits, some of them turned into whatever weird name the different airlines have for the various ways they were handling travel refunds at that point. And there was like $200 worth of flights credit that ended up converting into credit that actually had an expiration date. A lot of it ended up not having an expiration date, and I just have this money sitting on the various flight accounts now that I'm going to use eventually. But some of it actually had an expiration date, and there was like no plans I didn't have any plans to travel at that point. And I was like, well, I don't want to just have the flight credit expire. So then I was like, well, what can I do? How about if I go say hi to David in New York, and just booked a ticket and flew over there. So I used some hotel points on the hotel, and overall I didn't end up having to spend that much money on the trip, which is great. But yeah, literally only reason I went was because I had flight credit and I wanted to visit David in New York. It was a lot of fun. Petra says, you can always say either you like to break things or say do as I say, not as I do. There we go. Yeah, I do like to break things. That's great. Patrick asks, any other ways to bring in the Mevos into the ATEM other than the Raspberry Pi? Yeah, so there's definitely a couple different options. Basically, what you are looking for is, it's not special to the Mevos. You're looking for anything about being able to capture RTMP streams. So the Mevo can output RTMP, so can the ATEM, so can the DJI Pocket 2, you know, all those things, and you're trying to get it into an HDMI port. So I built the Raspberry Pi streaming bridge a long time ago, and I have that video on my channel about it. And let me just pull up that link so I can drop that into the chat. It was a while ago. It was It was quite a while ago. Where is it? Somewhere in here is the Raspberry Pi. Was it last year? There it is. Oh my gosh. It was 11 months ago. My studio has changed a bit since then. So where's my chat? Raspberry Pi streaming bridge video. So, okay, there's that link. The Raspberry Pi streaming bridge video, that was a tutorial on making the Raspberry Pi into an RTMP server that outputs the video over HDMI. So, cool. Then the other options you have are, there are some devices that can be an RTMP server as well. I bought one recently that I'm still testing out and had some issues with at one point that I haven't figured out the source of, but that's that Magewell converter. And that one is, let me see if I have the name of it. That is, what's that one called? I have to look at my Amazon. Okay, so it was the Magewell Pro Convert H.26x. So it looks like this. It's this little box, and it is, I got it apparently in June, and it's $370, so the Raspberry Pi is a lot cheaper. But the reason I got this one is because it's one, SDI out, and two, it is it's one of the few that is actually an RTMP server. So here's one of the things about these kinds of devices. There's a bunch of these that are like RTMP to HDMI converters, but most of them are not actually servers. Most of them expect you to point it at an RTMP address that it can pull from. So that would work if you also have an RTMP server somewhere. So I could do it with like install Nginx on a server up in the cloud or in my closet or whatever, and then point the RTMP streaming device to the server, and then point the capture card or converter card to the server also, and it can pull down and output over HDMI. I'm looking for a solution that doesn't require that extra step of setting up a server, which is why I was interested with this Magewell one, which is a server itself. So something can push directly to it. And not many of those can do it. So, oh, thanks, Christopher, for the super chat. Thank you for the help on Monday with where to find the streaming bridge on the Blackmagic website. Right. Yeah, they hid it. It disappeared from the website, and it took a while to find. So, curious. They did a big reorg of their website with the announcement of the latest products, and some of the things have moved or disappeared. So, so that converter card, I'm still trying to sort out what I did wrong with it before. But that was the one where I was streaming from the YOLO box at the office to it, and we had those audio issues where it was like, I can't remember, it was like clicking or something, and I had to switch live over to the Raspberry Pi, and that made the audio issues go away. So that card, I don't know. Again, I don't know where the fault in that was. It could have been the YOLO box bitrate not compatible with the Magewell. It could be the Magewell's fault, or I don't know. So still looking into that. But anyway, the Raspberry Pi one worked fine. So this time I was like, well, I didn't do proper testing, so let me just use the Raspberry Pi because I know it works. And there's a couple other similar ones. There's some things you can get for like the $200-ish that are, again, those RTMP pull devices, which I'm still trying to find a solution for that doesn't require setting up a server. Zach says, hi, all, just joining. What did I miss? And Roland says, Aaron announced a big giveaway of most of his gear he finished up just before you joined. Yeah, thanks. Funny. Oh, Chris says, decaffeine on Pi is now free. Oh, that's the NDI to HDM, NDI plugin for Raspberry Pi. That's cool. That's good to know. I might have to take a look at that. So, yeah, Magewell makes NDI cards as well. And that is what Chris is using for capturing RTMP. Cool. So that's what I was using for that. Where was I? I was talking about something. Oh, other ways to bring in the Meebos into the ATEM other than the Raspberry Pi. Yeah, so that was. I think that's all I have on that topic at the moment. Okay, I saw some other questions about this. So, okay, here's a good one. So, how did I get the ATEM multi-view display on the remote MacBook? Yeah, great question. So, in the car, I had my laptop. Oh, I should have taken a picture of it. Darn, I didn't take a picture of like what I was looking at in the car, did I? And now I'm gonna have to recreate it if I want to make a little video about it. Did I think ahead? I did not think ahead. Okay. Darn. So on my, I think I may have shown it on the stream at one point, so I'm gonna have to find it. But yeah, I think I showed my my view of what I was using to control the stream, but that's gonna take me forever to find that in that 2-hour-long stream. So not happening right now. But yeah, what I did was on the screen I had, on my laptop, I had my normal, my chat admin page and the multi-view pulled up from my ATEM so that I could see the actual multi-view of the ATEM. So I was seeing this where I was in the, you know, in the box 2 coming in over the Raspberry Pi, and I could see the other, like this camera angle, this wide one, and the chat and all that, and the streaming status and everything. So that is the way that I did that is I have on my desk, I have my HDMI out of the ATEM going into, again, this matrix. You don't have to use the matrix for it, but this is so that I can get the multi-view on like that screen as well as into a capture card. But basically it's going into a card inside, behind that rack, which is the, that one, I believe I was using this. Okay, yeah, I was using this DD Mall one. Let me grab the link. It is, I bought this thing ages ago, and it's been useful for stuff like this. So DD Mall H264 encoder. I got it ages ago. It's fine. It's definitely not the best thing out there, but it is very small, so I like that part of it. It's this little, you know, that's the size of an Ethernet port and a HDMI port, so it's pretty small. And it's sitting back there on an SDI to HDMI converter. Yeah, I got it back in February. I actually bought this before the ATEM Mini Pro came out. I bought this because I wanted to add an RTMP streaming output to the original ATEM Mini. And I didn't want it to be a giant, super expensive device. So I was like, this actually seems like a good solution for the original ATEM Mini to be able to stream HDMI or over RTMP. So the idea was you plug this into the ATEM Mini's HDMI output, and then it can now stream to YouTube. And then like a month later, they announced the ATEM Mini Pro, and I was like, well, there goes that video idea. That's not really useful anymore. So I never made that video because it's not a lot of point to it when this device is like $200 and the ATEM Mini is $300, and you can buy the ATEM Mini Pro for the sum of those two, and it's much more powerful than having this. So I never made that video, but that was why I have that. So it's just been sitting here and I use it for random things. So one of the ATEM Mini Extremes outputs is connected to that encoder, and then what it lets you do is in the admin page for it, which is, you know, one of these not super great looking admin pages, you go and tell it what audio to pull, what video to pull, whether you frame rate and all that kind of stuff. It can actually do, like, you can put text overlays on it for some reason. I guess if you're using it for like a security camera. And then you give it this, not that, you go here, and this is the address that you can pull up in VLC. So if I go to VLC and open up VLC player on my computer, is it going? Yes, slowly. don't need Zoom open. Okay, so go to VLC player, you go to File, Open Network, and then you paste in that RTSP URL. And when I open that, make sure my audio is off. Now I've got the multi-view of the of my ATEM pulled up on my computer screen in VLC. And of course, this is a local address on my network. So I was VPN'd into my network from the car. So my laptop on the car is connected over my LTE hotspot or LTE modem device, and then my laptop was VPN'd into the studio, and then I could pull up this address of this capture card and see the multi-view. So it worked great. Like it was a great solution to be able to see that on the computer. So what was the total bandwidth consumption of the stream? That is an excellent question. I don't get very good stats from Mint Mobile, unfortunately, of bandwidth usage. It's mostly just it tells you how much is left, and then if you fill it up again, you can't go back and like see logs, which is really my only complaint about about their system. So let me see if I can find that. I try to remember how many times I filled up my I should have a transaction history. I filled up my account with 3 gigs 3 times. Yeah, 3 times during that ride. So, and then I used up, I think I had a gig left after the end of the stream. So 3, 6, 7, 8 gigs. That looks right. So it cost me $20, $40, $60, basically, which was one of the most expensive parts of that trip. And the that was, so yeah, I guess it was about 8 gigs. I think that's my rough estimate. I don't think I have. There's one more place I can look for some stats. So bear with me here. Because what I ended up doing was, because Mint doesn't have history, I ended up writing a little tool to scrape my Mint account. And apparently it stopped working in June. So that's great. That's wonderful. Thanks. Yeah. So I don't have that history at all. Yeah, it was Mint is great because normally I don't burn through that much data, so I'm not and it's super cheap for like the base plans, but then yeah, it's kind of expensive to add extra once you overflow your base plan. What would you estimate the lag time on that RTSP stream that you pulled up on your laptop via your VPN and cellular LTE? I actually don't think that the network. Oh, thanks, Michael, for the super chat. I saw your link to the Sony ZV-1. I may have missed this. How do you like it, and will it constantly run with a USB charger or power supply for streaming? Oh, let me talk about that really quick, and then I'll get back to the LTE situation. So I do like it. It is a great camera. I have not had a good experience with powering it over USB. I know some people have been able to make it work fine. For some reason, I have not. The problem that I have is that it will, you do have to make sure that you switch it into like don't shut down if it overheats. But if the battery isn't like totally charged when you start, the USB can't power the camera and charge the battery at the same time. So the battery will eventually like get low enough that the camera thinks there's no power, and then it shuts down. So what I've been using for it when I use it in live streams is powering it via a DC adapter that replaces the battery. So there's a little thing you can get, and I think I linked to it in the same place I linked to the camera, but it's a little DC adapter that replaces the battery and has a USB at the other end, and that is able to power it continuously for as long as you want. The one problem with that is that you can't close the battery door with the little tail sticking out because there is no little slot for it, which is the other minor problem with that camera. So you have to add a base bracket to be able to attach a tripod and leave the battery door open. So that is also linked. I also linked to that from the in the description, but I'll drop this link here. This is the ZV-1 base bracket. Cool. And Roland says, I had a ZV-1 which ran very well via USB. I sold it to upgrade to an A7S III. That's quite the upgrade, but not because of any problems. Cool. Yeah, like I said, I don't know why I've been having problems with the USB power, but it was so unreliable I gave up on it and switched over to the battery replacement. And it looks like somebody figured out the chat plugin and was able to change the thing that showed up here, because I didn't click that. Congrats. Okay, so back to the LTE. What was I talking about LTE? I was talking about, oh yeah, the lag on the RTSP stream. So I don't think that the lag was any greater because of the VPN and the LTE. So I think that if I just pull it up again on my computer and play this RTSP stream again, it was about this. So let's see how you're looking at me in the camera here, and then you see me in the multi-view. So if I go like that, it's like, it's not short. It's like a second, right? So it's like 1,000. Yeah, it's like it's like a full second. So there's definitely lag, and I'm on my local network talking to this thing through one switch. My computer, M1 computer here in front of me, is connected to the same network switch as the encoder is, and we're getting a 1 second delay. I don't think the delay was any greater over the VPN. So it's not instant, but it's close enough that it's still usable. It's still useful. I probably wouldn't be able to switch like a very fast-paced show remotely like that over that because of the delays, but it was actually, it was totally fine for what I was doing with it. Zach has a good question. Please explain why you need your iPhone hotspot and the LTE modem into the GL iNet. Is the LTE modem just for networking? So my iPhone, here's what I did, was I did not have two LTE connections. I had one LTE connection. I took my SIM card out of my phone and I put it into the LTE modem. So that was, it took my phone number for a ride, put it into the LTE modem, put that into the GL iNet router, and then my phone was just on Wi-Fi. So my phone did not have an LTE connection during that ride. And so my phone was connected to the GL iNet router, and the everything else was connected to that too, and that's where the internet connection was. So my phone did not have, was not running as a hotspot. So, okay, then let's see. There was another one in here. Oh, here's a good one. If a similar setup for your NYC on the move could have been a YOLOBox Pro plus a couple of GoPros, do you think it would have been easier to set up and a little bit more stable? Good question. More stable. So it still has the problem of using the LTE connection, and the YOLOBox, I could have put the SIM card in the YOLOBox itself, which would have then had the internet connection. And I actually, now I don't remember if I can share the YOLOBox Wi-Fi or LTE over its Wi-Fi. So interesting. But I could have also just connected the YOLOBox over Wi-Fi to the LTE or to the GL iNet router, and that's where most of the problems I had during the stream were because of the LTE connection, not because of the camera's Wi-Fi. The cameras were all on Wi-Fi to the GL iNet router. That connection was incredibly stable the entire time, and so the iPhone can actually record the program that it's switching, like in the Mevo app. And so those recordings are great. Those are all super solid, high quality. I'm going to include some of those in the video that I produced about this. So you'll be able to see a demo of that. But so the instability of that stream would not have been fixed with the YOLO box because it would have the same limit of just using the one LTE connection. If I had trouble with the Wi-Fi going into the hub, that would have been solved with the YOLO box with wired cameras over HDMI. Here's the problem. GoPros, not a big fan of them in general, but at least in this case, they may be a good candidate for, car cameras, in-car cameras. But the battery on them is absolute crap. They're tiny little batteries, and they do not last very long. So it would have definitely not lasted the entire stream. So I would have had to power them over USB. I have had no trouble powering GoPros over USB. So that would have been fine. But now we're talking about GoPro, one wire for HDMI, one wire for USB to a battery somewhere. And if I have one like on the roof of the car or somewhere, now I've got cables running everywhere. So it's 6 wires to the YOLO and the YOLO box. And that sounds very messy. So the thing I like about the Mevo cameras is that they have a battery in them. We only drained half the battery on that whole ride on each of the cameras, and there's no wires. So it's just pop it somewhere and you're good to go. So I don't think that I would have used the YOLO box for that because it would have just been so many wires running in the car everywhere. Okay. Would I prefer DJI Pocket over the GoPro? Well, for like as a general camera, absolutely, yes. I think the DJI Pocket is fantastic. I absolutely love the time-lapse feature, the moving time-lapse feature, where you can tell it where to start, tell it where to end, and it does like a time-lapse where it slowly turns the camera. It looks super cool. And that is, I love that feature of it. And personally, I think the video looks better in the Pocket over the GoPro also. But they are pretty different, and they, again, have different situations where they both make sense. So it does depend on what you're trying to do. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable strapping the DJI Pocket to like the front of a bike or back of a bike, but I wouldn't mind putting a GoPro there because it's a little bit more solid. And for example, when it popped off of my little bike mount and got run over by a car, it still works fine. And I can guarantee you the DJI Pocket would not have survived that. Oh, this is a good point. With YOLO Box, you wouldn't need an app on the phone. Yeah, the YOLO Box, that is a good point. And that did remind me there was 1 or 2 times where the iPhone app actually crashed. And I don't know if it was because it was doing too much in the OS, decided to just kill the app, or if there was like a bug in the app and it crashed. So that is an advantage of the YOLO Box, is that it is that device is doing the encoding and the phone is not busy with that. I should not have used my phone in retrospect. What I should have done was used my iPad to run the Mevo software, because I'm pretty sure that my iPad is more powerful than my phone, because my phone is the XS, which is a few years old. And that also would have meant that I had other stuff on my phone running, and it got really hot. It was not happy. It was shutting down apps in the background, and I would have liked to be able to like dedicate this iPad to the Mevo app. If you had 2 separate carriers LTE bonded, it probably would have been more reliable. Absolutely. So next time I do something like that, I'm going to try to do 2 carriers bonded. Of course, I'm going to try to find 2 totally different providers. Mint Mobile is I believe they're a T-Mobile reseller, so I have to find a Verizon or AT&T plan that I don't have to sign up for a contract for in order to do that. I'm wondering if the latency for the satellite-based Starlink ISP would be useful for streamers once it's in general service. I was under the impression that they don't expect you to be using that if you're moving also. Like it's kind of installed somewhere. I'm not totally sure. I haven't looked into it too much. Yeah, and as David said during the show, there would have been no stream instability if you were not traveling all around Gotham. Yeah. The stream was super solid in Manhattan when we started, but then we crossed the bridge and that everything just disappeared, which it was less, there was less LTE signal than I would have expected. And I'm not totally sure why. I don't quite understand why it was so bad, because I feel like I get a signal when I'm on that bridge or in Brooklyn, and I don't know why it just completely failed. It could have also been that I was burning through my data so fast that like it was just confusing their backend system. So I don't know. Did you think about using the Sony RX02? I did. So that's the one that's like the same, roughly the same shape as a GoPro, same size. Same problem is the battery is terrible in it. It's it's even smaller than a GoPro battery. And then I would also need cables everywhere. So I do like that more than a GoPro for most things though. It's actually on this, it's over here. That's the RX0 Mark II angle. I don't have anything it's looking at right now, but that's that camera. But yeah, that's the, you can see like this looks a lot better than a GoPro picture. I don't have a GoPro wired up to show you, but trust me. Okay, some more chats coming in. Make sure if you have a question for me, make sure you mention my name or the word question. If you lost your gear, ooh, I don't like that idea, and say you only had your MacBook and your ZV-1 and OBS, could you still deliver the show? That's a good question. So let's see. Yes, if I had the Sony ZV-1, I would need a capture card, of course, to get that into the Mac, because I don't think the Sony webcam utility works on Macs yet. Been a while since I've looked into it. I could be wrong on that. But assuming I can get the video into OBS, I could deliver the show, because OBS is doing the window capture for the chat, and I would just go in here and add a layer underneath this one with the camera. So actually I can do it here. So let's see. This might look weird. If I go and add a video capture device here and go and add, actually have a video capture device plugged in. There it is. Let's make it full HD, and then I drag it down below the chat. And now this is a different capture card running into OBS, and you are seeing it. Let's see, let me turn off the graphics layer. There we go. So this is in OBS, and my video is now, it's like OBS is ready to do the stream. So it's outputting to the deck link right now, or the Ultra Studio, but I could, start streaming from this, and this would work just fine for running a stream with just a laptop and a capture card and OBS. Not my preferred option, but it would work. Let's get rid of that. The LTE towers are probably saturated in areas, so it would have to bounce around to find one with an opening as you travel. Yeah, yep, that's a good point. That was definitely a stressful situation to put those poor cameras into. Question: how come when I use my laptop as an input to the ATEM and is running the Zoom meeting, I lose all sound output from the laptop and can't hear the meeting? Very, very likely what's happening is your laptop says, oh, there's a output device. I should send my output audio there too. So if you go up to your little speaker settings in the corner, see how I have one called Blackmagic? It's because I have the ATEM connected. So you would want to switch back to your Mac speakers, but it may be automatically switching to that and then sending the audio from the laptop into the ATEM, which means you then can't hear the meeting, which is not what you want in that case. Slight audio delay. Yeah, that's because I was showing you the video out of the capture card, but you were hearing the audio through the ATEM still. So it wouldn't have been like that if I had actually been streaming from OBS. Without special routing software for audio, it only outputs to one audio destination at once. Yeah, exactly. So the Mac by default, it's just going to pick one device to send audio to. You could actually go into Zoom and in Zoom change Zoom's output to be separate than your Mac's output. So if you did want to like output your laptop's audio into the ATEM in order to be able to send sound from a presentation or a video into the ATEM, you could also in Zoom tell it to use your Mac speakers and split it out that way. ZV-1 does work directly as a webcam now. Oh, cool. Okay, I'll have to try that. What bonding method would you consider being the best option for a mobile situation? Teradek, LiveU, Raspberry Pi, and Speedify. Those are all the ones I'm going to try. I'm going to try all of those things. I don't know yet. I have tried out Speedify a little bit already, and I haven't yet put it on a Raspberry Pi, so that's probably the first one I'm going to do because it is the cheapest. But I'm going to see if I can get a hold of a hardware bonding thing as well. Okay, other questions about the... Can someone post a link to Aaron's Sony ZV-1 video? I don't have one, actually. I should probably do that at some point. Because I feel like I've explained that several times now, so I need to just make a video about it. Have I tried the RTMP mini server software? Is it good and reliable? I have not. I have not tried that one. Nope. Cool. Okay. The other thing to consider is that Zoom has a separate audio output that is different from your system output. Yeah. So exactly. Never mind. You said exactly what I was going to say. Thanks. Yeah. Give audio hijacks loopback for getting Zoom audio to both your Mac speakers or headphones and to the ATEM Mini. Totally. Audio loopback is great. I've been trying that out. I actually was trying something with it right before we started the stream, which is partly why the start of the stream was a little bit more bumpy than normal. I was trying to route my crisp audio through loopback in order to get it into the ATEM. And it did sort of work. Let me show you what that does. So Krisp is a noise cancellation software. It sits up in here, and then it will basically just it does like fancy noise cancellation, basically, where it's meant to only let through spoken text. And I was like, maybe this is a good way to get rid of the fan noise in the room on the stream. So let me give you a demo of what I was trying to do this morning that I ended up not doing. So you're listening to the audio my normal way, which is through the ATEM, and it's got this a little bit of dynamics on it. So if I turn these off, you can hear there's some background noise. So when I turn these on, then it clamps down and you don't hear the noise when I'm not talking. But I wanted to see if Krisp would work for this. So I set up the Loopback app to use the Krisp microphone as a source and then output it to the Krisp speak. Oh, that's not what I want. Because, yeah, actually, I want to output it to the Ultra Studio. So let's get rid of that. And the Ultra Studio audio is routed through the ATEM as well. And it's actually already on because that's where my sound for all the countdown music and the super chats goes through. So if I turn this on, I'm going to have to turn off my microphone. Okay. So the sync is going to be probably way off. It's bad enough that it's distracting me. So you're listening to Krisp audio with noise cancellation on, output into the ATEM. Now you can still hear that little faint background noise, but check this out. You can't hear me clapping. It's gone, right? Isn't that weird? It just doesn't let that kind of noise through. Super weird. So I was like, maybe it'll remove the AC noise or whatever. But it doesn't, it's still like letting some of that sort of background hiss through when I am talking. So I feel like it's not that much better than just going the normal way. Plus, then I have to compensate for the audio delay, which is way worse on this one. So yeah, back to normal audio. Yes. Super cool though, right? One needs both audio hijack and loopback for maximal flexibility. Yeah, I've only got loopback on here. Yeah, I don't think I have audio hijack installed. Very weird. What is your recommended way of receiving 2 to 3 RTMP feeds simultaneously so you can feed it to the ATEM Extreme? Whatever way I end up finding is the best for RTMP to HDMI, I would just copy it multiple times. And the Raspberry Pi has been a decent solution, and it's cheap enough that it's not going to break the bank if you want 3 of them. What happens when you talk and clap at the same time? Let's find out. So let me go back to the crisp audio. Just double check that that's on. Sorry for the out of sync again. And if I'm clapping while talking, I think it's like clamping down. It's doing an okay job. But it probably sounded a little bit weirder than just regular speech. I can't really tell listening to that myself. So you will have to let me know how that sounded. The audio delay isn't too bad, just crisp. Oh, that's crisp with a K. Sample the background noise. No, it doesn't sample it. It uses like machine learning to be able to identify what voice is and then only pass voice through. So it's not the same as, it's not quite the same as like the noise assist plugin in the Sound Devices MixPre 3. So it's a lot more magic going on. Crisp is amazing. Heard no claps. Yep. How often do I do these streams about the ATEM so I know for future questions? Every week. Come back next Sunday. We do these every week and just chat about whatever is new in the world of ATEMs and live streaming. Once you have your audio chain and set up Zoom, if you make a change during a meeting, Zoom will throw one of its notification windows on your screen saying your audio has changed. Yeah, it will. Yep. Not bad. Sounded better than I anticipated. Minor clipping on voice. Or maybe clapping. No claps, but could still understand what you said. Cool. Yeah, it's definitely a magical piece of software. I got it because of how much I was on video calls at work, and I was like, this seems like probably a good idea. It's supposed to like cancel out dogs barking in the background and all that kind of stuff. I've eliminated fan noise on a device by putting a piece of sound foam 5 inches away from the fan vent. Ha! That's a good idea. I don't actually even know where this background noise is coming from at this point, because it's very quiet in here, frankly. It is definitely, like, I don't hear a lot of fans. There's a little bit of humming from the fan in the SDI matrix, but it's really not that bad. So it might just be that the mic is a bit noisy. How are you quickly grabbing the questions and comments and displaying it on the stream? This is using, you can do this too. So the trick is to get my live chat overlay extension in Chrome and Firefox web stores. And basically I just then click on comments as they come in and it shows it on the stream. But I do have a video about that dedicated to that. So go take a look at, search my channel for live chat overlay and you'll find it. I have Aaron on one computer, Leo about to start on another laptop, and Curtis Judd at the top of the hour on another laptop. Plenty of bandwidth. I guess we're at the top of the hour. I should probably go so that I can let Curtis Judd have the time after me. Does Crisp do garbage trucks? It probably would take out the garbage truck noise completely. It probably would, which is very useful when I'm doing workshops at weird hours and I can't control the sound around me. Can you control the ATEM with MIDI controllers? You can, and I did actually do that on a live stream a long time ago. I don't have a tutorial video about this, but I happen to have the video on this screen. This little thing is a MIDI controller. Let's see if I put timestamps. Was I smart and put timestamps? This was before I was doing timestamps. Darn. So somewhere in here, wow, look how much my desk has changed compared to just August last year. I was on the other wall and I had 3 ATEM minis, and now I've got the Extreme and 1 ATEM mini. And no rack yet. It's funny. But anyway, this device, let me see if I can find where I was talking about it. This device is a little MIDI controller, and I did rig it up during this stream to demonstrate it. But I'm not finding timestamps, and not finding timestamps on this, and I can't even find it in the scroll. Anyway, this is a video that has it, so I'll just drop this link in there and stop trying to find it live. So there, somewhere in here is a tutorial on setting up MIDI controllers for the ATEM. Yeah, Peter said, oh yeah, Peter has the info, foot switch with osculator and ATEM OSC. Those are the magic words to Google. Those are the 2 things that translate the MIDI device into ATEM commands. Totally works. And have you been able to get yours or H2R graphics to run on a Raspberry Pi? I know John is working on a rebuild of H2R graphics that will run on a Pi. But what I have done is my chat overlay totally works fine, because what you do is you load the remote window on the Pi. So it's just a browser in the Pi, and you can set it up in kiosk mode to like launch on boot, and that will work. So that is I'm going to do a video about that at some point. Like setting up a Raspberry Pi in kiosk mode, but there are like blog post tutorials about that, and totally doable. Thanks for joining from Zimbabwe. Okay, I think we are going to wrap it up here. Oh, here's one more. I'll just drop a link since I do have this video. Is there a way to make an Arduino or M5 stick to make an ATEM remote cam switcher? There absolutely is. And again, I don't have like a concise tutorial about it, but there is a live stream I did where I built one of these live, and then there's a link in that to a blog post about it and all the code you need. So I will drop this link. Making a touch screen ATEM controller, and that is a very long live stream for almost 5 hours, but there's info in there, and if you like scroll through and scrub through and find the eventual links that I used, info I used is all linked from there. But yeah, totally doable. Can you have your timestamp scrubbing plugin go through in your old live streams and index those timestamps retroactively? Unfortunately not, because I have not been logging the clicks on the questions. So I normally do my timestamps manually. I just go through, and right after the stream, which I'm going to do right now, I go back through and I watch it and just put a few markers in sort of rough groups. So if I've done like a specific tutorial about something, I will go and like mark that, but then I'll usually leave some sort of like Q&A blocks where I was just like rapid fire going through questions. What I'm going to do next is, because I now am logging every time I'm clicking a question, I'm going to build a separate list down in the description with timestamps to each question that was asked and that I've clicked on. But I don't want those as chapter markers in the videos because they would be too small and YouTube wouldn't like it. Okay, hope everybody has a great day. See you next week. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up. Hugo says, since I got the new ATEM Mini Pro, I now stream everything on SuperSource on the Extreme. Great solution we found on your last stream. Excellent. So thanks for the super chats, everybody. Thank you for joining the stream today. It's been a lot of fun. I will have some new videos coming out based on I'm going to publish a video of that Meebo stream so you can actually see the stream again if you did miss it live. But subscribe to the my email newsletter if you do want emails about these videos. And that way you get the live stream links in your inbox in case I do unlist them. You can go back and watch them. So thanks for watching, and I will see you all again next week.